Is getting your coin graded a good idea? Well, that's really hard to say without actually seeing the coin. Whenever I have people come in the shop, I get a lot of questions about should I get my coins graded? How do I grade coins? And do you grade coins? And those are all great questions because people who've never dealt with coins before really don't know much about grading. They hear about grading, they hear that grading can make coins extremely valuable, and so they definitely want to know about grading. And if that's you, this is the video for you. Grading a coin does not make a coin necessarily more valuable. Grading a coin makes a coin defined as what grade it is. It's a way to clarify what the coin actually grades at. Whereas you have a coin that's not been graded, there's some subjectivity in figuring out the condition of the coin. And that's what grading is really getting at. The condition of the coin, and also a lot of times the authenticity of the coin, making sure that if it's a rarer coin that can often be counterfeited, that it's actually genuine. So grading a coin can have multiple purposes. It also can help identify aspects of a coin that might not be noticeable by just glancing at the coin, like if there's something about it like a double die or something of that nature. Anybody who can look at one coin and another and say that one looks better than that one can grade coins. You're ultimately grading coins at that point. You just might not be grading them well. It takes a lot more than just being able to say that one looks better than that one to really assign it a numerical grade that defines what the condition of that coin actually is. And so anybody who has dealt with coins for a while probably has some idea of grading and be able to define this coin is circulated, this one's uncirculated, this one's pretty low on the scale, and this one's pretty high. But it takes somebody who really, really knows what they're looking at to be able to grade coins on a professional level. Now, if you take a coin to a coin shop, the coin shop can probably tell you what the coin roughly grades at. But a lot of times, they might be wrong as well. I know that sounds horrible that people who do it for a living can be wrong, but I think any coin dealer can tell you about coins they've sent off to these third-party grading services, the professionals, and they've been told they're wrong. I'm in that boat. It happens to all of us. So that's why there are third-party grading services where there are people who specialize in grading coins. They're professionals. And these third-party grading services include PCGS, NGC, CAC Grading, Anax, and other companies as well. And you send off a coin to them, you pay them a decent amount of money, and they will look at your coin and they will assign it a numerical grade. And that grade is going to be between 1 and 70 on a scale. And then after they assign a grade to it, they will put it into a container that's a piece of plastic. It's kind of like your coin's coffin for the rest of its life, but you can still see it. There's some benefits to having it in one of these holders, which is referred to as a slab usually by kind of a slang term. But one of the things it really helps with is preserving the coin in the condition it's in. It's not going to get moved around. It's not going to bounce and get dinged. It's preserved where it's in a pretty stable environment. They're not perfectly sealed, so you don't want to like look at your pennies out by your pool and have chlorine vapors seep in through the seams from the evaporation. But it will help to preserve the coin in most circumstances, much better than just having it in another form of storage. And when you have one of those coins in that holder, there's a couple benefits beyond that as well. One of the benefits is being able to know what condition it is on a more objective level. Now, that doesn't mean grading services always get it exactly right. Sometimes they're a little low, sometimes they're a little high. Sometimes they are just completely off, but everybody has their bad days and doesn't quite hit the nail on the head. But in general, grading services are pretty good. They do that for a living, and they train to do that, and most coins that go into graded holders are fairly accurately graded, and they're going to be holding the value that they are attributed to for that particular grade. Now, value and condition aren't exactly the same. The value is a lot more complicated, and I would recommend you watch my coin pricing videos to understand a little bit more about how to price coins. But when it comes to grade, and if you have a graded coin, it's much easier to say, this is probably the value on this coin. It's much easier to pin down what a collector is probably going to be willing to pay for it in that condition. Now, this hits on that first misconception. Does grading a coin make it automatically more valuable? Absolutely not. You see, grading a coin sometimes can be worth far more just in the cost of getting it graded than the coin's actually worth. So sometimes sending off certain coins, in fact, I would say the majority of coins, to grade because you think it might add value to it, can be a very costly lesson in just how common the coins are and how expensive it is to grade them. So it's very important to watch my videos about pricing or learn about pricing in some way so you can better understand how to figure out what the value of your coins are to begin with and see if grading will be beneficial to your coins. Also, getting a coin graded doesn't always turn out the way you want it to. You see, I mentioned that 1 to 70 scale. Sometimes coins that go into a holder can't get one of those numerical grades. There are different ranges of coin condition that are, you can define them by terms, adjectives such as fair, poor, good, fine, very fine, extra fine. Oh yeah, it's extra fine. And these are going to be grade ranges, and different numbers will fall within those grade ranges. And just a tidbit, if you're new to conditions of coins, don't use the word good when you talk to a coin dealer if you're trying to say it looks amazing, because to us, as you can see, it's pretty far down on the list actually. But if there's a problem with the coin, it won't be able to get one of those numerical grades from 1 to 70. It can still go into a holder, but it'll go into a problem holder, and it will have some designation of cleaning or damage or something going on with the coin that makes it to where it's not a gradable coin on a scale of 1 to 70. And that can really heavily affect the value. Yes, it might be a gorgeous mint state coin, but if it's got a cleaning to it, it's not really accepted in the collecting community as something that's really that nice of a coin, even though it might look really, really nice. So if you're new to coin grading, it's always important, in my opinion, to seek second opinions from people who've been doing it for a while. It doesn't hurt to ask somebody like a coin dealer or a collector who has graded coins, do you think this is really worth grading? And in a lot of cases, even with nicer coins, getting the coin graded might not actually even be necessary. Some coins are in a condition to where the grading fees will only bump the value up enough to where it maybe covers the grading fees, but it might not even do that. And a lot of coins, even ones that are tougher to find and ones you don't see in circulation at all, like 2-cent pieces, 3-cent pieces, Indian head cents, there's a lot of those coins that are not something you find, not something you normally see, but in the collecting community it's common enough that getting the coin graded in most grades isn't going to be worth the money. Now, there could be other motivations for you to get a coin graded. Maybe it's something you've inherited and you want to get it protected, but in that case, there are some other options where you can actually save some money and not have to send it off for grading, because we're about to talk about the cost and it will surprise you. But there are plenty of companies who make holders for coins that look like those graded slabs that you get back from a grading service. They don't seal necessarily unless you got like something to make the plastic melt, I guess, but at least it's in a protected holder, and they are pretty sturdy. There are also plenty of other ways to protect coins, such as flips, capsules. There are other ways to protect your coins to where they don't get damaged, where you don't have to spend so much money to have your coin protected. But if you did just happen to want to send one off because you want it graded and it has some personal meaning to you or something like that, it's up to you. So real quick, let's talk about some numbers of how much it costs to get a coin graded. First of all, a lot of the grading services are going to require you to pay a fee to be a member. It's going to range in price, and I will have those prices right up here for you to look at. As you can see, it's not cheap just to even become a member. But some of those membership tiers come with vouchers for grading fees, so you can actually get your grading fees taken off for some of your coins, depending on which tier you get with certain graders. Second, you're going to have to pay shipping to the grading service, and depending on how much value you have in there, it can get up there because you want to ship it in a way where it's secure and safe so that you don't have loss of value if something happens to the package on the way, because we all know how the shipping services can be. Next, you're going to have a service fee for each submission, so every single submission you have to make, like one for World, one for US, one for Ancient, etc., is going to have its own submission fee. Third, you're going to have the cost of the grading itself. This is going to vary depending on a lot of factors. Is it a World coin, a US coin, an Ancient coin? is how much value is the coin at, because they won't grade certain values of coins if they get high enough in those lower cost grading tiers, because there's a lot of value that they're handling and they charge to put that value into a holder. It's who wants to handle $100,000 coin and be responsible for that and get $10 for it? It's just not realistic. So they're going to charge more for those higher tiers of cost of the value of the coin. Also, how quickly do you want the coin back? Different tiers also associate with different speeds of how fast they come back. So if you want the coin back quickly, you got to pay up for it. If you're okay with waiting, then the lower tiers are perfectly fine. Next, there could be additional services you need to pay for. For example, depending on the service, varieties, errors, high definition imaging, specialty labels, all sorts of things can be charged as an additional service, and those can be multiple ones that you might require depending on what you need. But for basic coin grading, this may be zero, so this might be a category that actually has a $0 value for your particular submission. And after all that, you want to get your coins back, right? You don't want them just staying at the grading service forever, so you have to pay for shipping back. If you have an account with FedEx or another carrier, then you can charge that to your account, but otherwise, the grading services are going to tell you how much they're going to charge you for the coins to get back to you. And that's going to depend on numerous factors of how many coins you have and what value they're at. So depending on how they grade will depend on what cost you have in getting the coins back. So with all of that, getting a coin graded, just one, is pretty expensive. If you just had one coin to send off that you needed to get graded, it's pricey, and I highly recommend, unless it's just an astronomically valuable coin and some very, very, very knowledgeable people have assured you of that, I would highly recommend not sending one coin off for grading. I would try to send numerous at a time. Just to visualize that, if we had one error coin we were sending to PCGS, this double struck dime, and we're assuming it's going to be under $300 in value, they assess it, and we didn't have a membership we had to pay $69 for, which does not come with any vouchers, and we had our basic return shipping for under $1,000, we would have a total of $156 to grade this coin, and that's one coin graded for $156. But if we sent 5 coins, we could upgrade the membership tier and get 4 free vouchers, and then we'd have a total of $242 or $24.20 a coin. Or let's say we were already members, had used our vouchers, and we sent more coins, 15 total, and we upped our shipping costs both there and back, we still would only get to $618, which is only $41.20 per coin. So the more coins you send, the cheaper it ends up being per submission. And that's what I do as well. I wait until there are enough coins available at the shop that are worth grading in that particular type of coin, because you're going to have multiple, if you have multiple different types of coins, they're going to get graded at different speeds in different types of services, and they're going to come back at different times. And guess what? That's numerous shipments back to you. So like one world coin and one US coin, they're getting graded differently. You're getting 2 packages back possibly. That can get pricey. So having enough coins to send where the price balances out, where that all those other factors apart from just the grading fees themselves kind of wash out into the grading fee to reduce the price per coin, that's really important to do. I highly recommend, if you have coins to get graded, wait until you have enough, or make sure you have enough to where you're not losing money in all those other ways. And that's where it's important to be able to look at a price guide and price history to tell where that coin, if it hit this grade, it would actually jump up enough to where it was worth the money and the effort you spent to send it off to get it graded. Now, as I said, condition is not value, but there's generally a range at which certain coins will be sold and bought at for certain conditions. So there's a spread in value between the different grades. So if you have a coin that's $100 in one grade and it jumps up to $125 in the next grade, but between shipping and grading fees, it's going to cost you $45 or possibly a lot more depending on how many coins you have to send. And you're going to not see it for about 3 months possibly, depending on how busy it is and what tier of grading service you send it off for. It might not be worth your money because you won't get the money back out of it if it hits that next grade. Now, on the other hand, if you have a coin that's $100 in one grade and the next grade up goes up to $250, and it could possibly, with somebody's good eye that they've told you it might actually do this, and it could go to that next grade, then that might actually be worth your money. Because if it hits that next grade, it is a gamble because you don't always know where it's going to hit. If it hits that next value, that next grade, the value could increase enough to where it would add value to the coin. That doesn't happen a lot. Most coins, as I said, are not worth grading. In the shop, we probably grade one out of every, I don't even know, probably 10,000, 20,000 coins we see. We see a lot of really old coins, really interesting coins, uncommon stuff, yet we're not sending most of those off to get graded. Because the vast majority of those coins, even those tougher ones that you don't normally see, won't pull the money that it's worth us sending it off for the grading fees. This plays heavily into the decisions of collectors and coin dealers when they're deciding what to send off for grading. In fact, I've got a Morgan dollar right here. It's already been graded as an MS64 in a CAC graded slab. And I believe this coin would, if I send it off to PCGS, go up a grade at least. It's a gorgeous coin. I think CAC was a little bit hard on this coin and we're very conservative with it. And I think that another grading service would look at that and say, that's nicer than an MS64. So, is it worth me sending off for that bump to MS65? No, it's not, unfortunately. I've already got it in a holder. I already have it graded. There's a range already kind of associated with this in value. And the bump up to that 65 is not enough to justify sending it off to get it graded again because the cost is going to be too high. And in fact, even if it would have to bump up 2 grades to a grade that I don't think it has a chance of getting for it really to be worth the money. There is cost involved. You have to take into account how much money you have in the coin. You have to take into account how much it's going to cost to get it graded. Realistically, what the coin will be worth after it would get graded if it did bad and if it did good. So you have to think about what that range is and then weigh what it's worth to you. Is it really worth the effort, and is it really going to add enough value to that coin to make it worth your time to send it off? Now, I've really focused this video for people who don't know how to grade coins. They have not done it before, and they're probably going to be new to the hobby. And if that's you, again, I highly encourage you not to make a cardinal mistake and get so wrapped up in with what you want the coin to be that you miss what it actually is. Get a second opinion. Have someone help you out in understanding what grade the coin probably will hit, someone who's knowledgeable. There are some other methods as well. There are coin grading guides, such as the ANA Grading Standards book. There are some other ones that are made, and they have pictures of the coins in different grades. There's a free resource you can actually use, which is PCGS Photo Grade on PCGS's website, which is a fantastic grading service, by the way. If you pick a particular coin, it will show you one example of that coin in every grade from bottom to the highest that they have. So you'll be able to see an example and see what those grade ranges look like in difference in the circulation wear that happens to coins. Don't think that just because a coin's not graded doesn't mean you can't sell it for some decent money. Grading just solidifies that value and makes it to where somebody might pay a little stronger because they trust that that's the actual condition of the coin and they're not going to be questioning cleaning and all that other stuff possibly. But it doesn't mean you can't actually get a coin to sell for a good amount of money without it being graded, or in a raw state, as it's called in the hobby, a raw coin. So don't be afraid to try and sell a coin that's not graded. just make sure you understand if it's in that range where it might actually be worth sending off for grading. Now, it might not be worth you sending off for grading because of the cost involved in not having enough coins to send off to get a coin graded, but it might be worth a coin dealer getting graded or somebody who's a big collector. If it's a really decent coin and it's worth grading, someone who actually already is grading coins will be happy to purchase that and send it off for grading. Now, anytime somebody's going to buy a coin, they can't buy it at a price that they assume it's going to hit that grade. Let's just be realistic. If I bought coins at what I hope they do, I would never make any money because oftentimes you can be wrong and you can't pay full retail on something that you have to make a profit margin in, especially when you have so much cost involved with getting it graded. But if a coin is really solid, a dealer or a collector might be willing to pay solid money so that they can acquire it and send it off for grading and hope that it hits the grade that they want it to hit. So don't be afraid to try it out, and you can save yourself a lot of headache and frustration and cost of getting a coin graded by finding somebody who's willing to look at it and say that they see the value in it as well and are willing to pay strongly enough that you feel like it's a fair number without it actually being graded. And a good way to tell what that fair number is to look at comparable sales history, as I mentioned in my pricing videos. And one thing I almost forgot about, auction houses will often offer grading for coins if you send it to them without it being graded. Consult with the auction house as well as someone else you trust as well, because remember, there are fees associated with both the auction and grading. And depending on how the coin grades, those fees are still coming out regardless of what the coin sells for. The big question is, well, who do I send it to? Which grading service is the best? And, well, for many reasons, legal ones being one of them, I'm not going to tell you which is the best grading service. They're all strong in different areas, and they're all really decent at what they do. But you can get a pretty good idea of which one's going to be best for you for your coin by looking up comparable sales history of the coin you have or a coin that you're just interested in and seeing how different grading surfaces perform when that particular coin sells in their slabs. Don't get discouraged if the grades don't come back like you wanted them to. It happens to all of us. We all send off a coin we think is going to be fantastic and it comes back not so hot. Now, when you first start out in coins, that can end up being a pretty big difference between what you hoped for and what you actually got. I remember my first grading submission, and it was pretty rough. But the more you look at coins, the more you handle them, and the more you study their grades and really assess what it looks like. Looking at coins that are already graded and getting an idea of what they look like in that grade, you get a better eye for what grades the coin actually might fall into. So instead of getting mad at the grading service for something that may or may not be something they did wrong, in most cases, it's usually not. We just get mad because we didn't get what we wanted. I'm included. Instead of doing that, use it as a learning opportunity to really study what about this coin didn't hit what they wanted it to hit to get the grade I actually wanted. And the very last thing, I swear, make sure that you're honest with the coin. We always want the coin that we own to be better than it is. We always want it to be the best. And it's very easy to look at a coin that you have in hand that's yours and say, I think it's worth the moon. Sometimes you might have a really, really solid coin in a condition that's actually worth a good amount of money. But that's quite often not the case with most coins. So you have to be honest with what the coin is actually worth and where it will actually grade. It's very easy to look at a coin and say, this looks amazing to me. But does it actually look amazing to a grader is a completely different question. It's all a matter of how much experience you have in grading coin and really if you're honest with yourself and with the coin about what it actually is. So there is a lot to determining whether you should actually grade a coin and a lot of expense in doing so. So making the decision to grade a coin should be something you do carefully. It's not something you just say, I've got these coins, I gotta get them graded. Most of the time, that's not the case. So take the time, really study to see if it's worth your effort and your money to send it off for grading, and make sure to seek advice from someone who's a very knowledgeable person, like a reputable coin dealer or someone who is just accepted as a phenomenal grader in the hobby if you're still learning. If this video helped you out in learning about grading coins and really helped you to assess whether your coins are worth grading or not as you learn more about the hobby, I would greatly appreciate a like. And if you want to see more numismatic content like this, where I talk about different parts of coin collecting and try to provide accurate information for coin collectors as they learn about the hobby, make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications buttons below so you'll be notified when I have new content coming out. Thanks for watching the video and good luck in your grading.